Robert King sat in the departure lounge at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport, waiting for his flight back to Austin, scrolling through his phone at 7 different line conversations that had all ended the same way with silence after the money stopped. 7 young Thai women over 18 months, each one different in presentation, each one identical in outcome. He wasn't broke his pension, still deposited monthly. He still had about $12,000 in savings from the $50,000 he'd arrived with. But he was exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with the recognition that he had fallen for the same trap 7 times. Each time believing this girl was different, this situation was special, this connection was genuine. Mint, 22, the college student who needed help with tuition. Porn, 21, the village girl who promised traditional loyalty while her family systematically extracted every dollar he sent. Fawn, 24, the bar girl who swore she was different from other bar girls while maintaining 3 other foreign sponsors. Aum, 25, the sophisticated Bangkok office worker who used him for expensive dinners and designer bags. Nid, 23, the single mother whose child's needs became endless emergency. Yui, 22, the freelance masseuse who provided affection by the hour while calling it friendship. And Ploy, 24, the visa hunter who disappeared the moment he started researching marriage requirements. 7 women, 7 variations of the same lesson. 7 expensive demonstrations that what he was purchasing wasn't love, regardless of how convincingly it was performed. Regardless of how desperately he wanted to believe, each new girl represented a fresh start rather than repetition of the same pattern. The flight announcement called his row. Robert stood, picked up his carry-on, took one last look at Bangkok through the terminal windows, the city that had promised renewal and delivered education about the precise mechanics of how loneliness gets monetized when 60-year-old divorced American men meet. Young Thai women who have learned that foreign validation can be converted into survival. This is the story of how he learned that lesson 7 times before finally accepting it. If you've been enjoying the stories I create, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support is crucial for the growth of this channel and helps me dedicate time to making these videos despite my commitment to a full-time job. Thank you for being here. Robert arrived in Thailand 3 weeks after his second divorce finalized. 60 years old, retired from construction supervision, living on a pension that was adequate for Austin but stretched further in Southeast Asia. 2 failed marriages, 3 grown children who called rarely, decades of feeling progressively more invisible, in a country where men his age existed in the background of life, noticed only when they were inconvenient. Thailand appeared through YouTube videos and expat forums, a solution to problems he couldn't articulate: the loneliness, the irrelevance, the sense that the best years were finished and what remained was just waiting. The promise was simple. In Thailand, Western men were valued, younger women were available and appreciative. Life could feel purposeful again. He arrived in Bangkok with $50,000 in savings, a 3-month tourist visa, and determination to approach this carefully, to learn from his previous relationship failures, to find genuine connection rather than transactional arrangement. He met men through a dating app, ThaiCupid, where her profile showed a pretty 22-year-old in university uniform. Profile text saying she wanted to practice English with native speakers, make international friends, learn about Western culture. Her photos showed her at coffee shops, studying, at temples with friends, living the life of ordinary college student. They messaged for 2 weeks before meeting. Mint's English was good, her conversation intelligent, her interest in Robert seeming genuine rather than mercenary. She asked about his life in America, his work, his interests. She shared details about her studies, international business at Bangkok University, her dreams of working for a multinational company, her struggles balancing school and part-time work at her family's small shop. Their first meeting was at a Starbucks near her university. Mint arrived wearing jeans and simple blouse, backpack full of textbooks, looking exactly like her photos: young, pretty, wholesome. She smiled shyly when greeting Robert, seemed nervous in ways that felt authentic, asked permission before ordering coffee rather than assuming he would pay. They talked for 3 hours. Mint was articulate, curious, laughed easily at Robert's stories about construction sites and American life. She asked him why he came to Thailand, listened carefully to his answer about wanting new experiences, nodded sympathetically when he mentioned his divorces. She shared her own struggles, university costs, family pressure to succeed, the difficulty of maintaining grades while working part-time. Robert felt something he hadn't felt in years, genuine interest from an attractive young woman, conversation that flowed naturally, the possibility that maybe age gaps didn't matter as much as compatibility and mutual respect. Mint didn't seem interested in his money. She had insisted on paying for her own coffee, had thanked him for his time rather than acting entitled to it, had suggested meeting again without any hint of expecting compensation. They saw each other several times over the following 2 weeks. Coffee, lunch, walks through Bangkok's parks, visits to temples, where Mint explained Buddhist traditions Robert didn't understand. She was patient with his questions, grateful when he paid for meals but never demanding, affectionate in small ways, touching his arm when laughing, standing close when they walked, making him feel desired rather than merely tolerated. 3 weeks into their relationship, Mint mentioned her tuition problems. University fees were due 40,000 baht, approximately $1,200, and her family couldn't help this semester. She might need to take a break from studies, work full-time, delay her degree by a year. She told Robert this matter-of-factly, not as request for help, just sharing her situation the way partners share difficulties. Robert offered to help immediately. $1,200 was manageable, and the idea of enabling Mint to continue her education felt meaningful in ways his construction work never had. He was investing in her future, helping her avoid setback, demonstrating he cared about her beyond surface attraction. Mint resisted, appropriately said it was too much, that she couldn't accept, that she barely knew him. But Robert insisted, and eventually she agreed, crying genuine-seeming tears, saying she would pay him back somehow, that she had never met anyone so kind. The tuition payment was the first. Over the following 2 months came requests for textbooks, for laptop that had broken, for registration fees for required internship, for family emergency when her grandmother got sick. None of the individual amounts were enormous, but they accumulated. Robert gave freely because Mint's gratitude felt real, because their relationship seemed to deepen with each gift, because she still met him regularly, still seemed genuinely interested in him, still made him feel valued. 4 months after they met, Robert had given Mint approximately $6,000. Their relationship had become physical tender encounters in the small apartment Robert had rented, Mint staying over several nights per week, talking about their future together in vague but promising terms. Then Mint's messages became less frequent. She was busy with exams, she said, stressed about grades, needed to focus on studies. Robert understood, gave her space, waited for her schedule to clear. After 2 weeks of minimal contact, Robert visited her university, hoping to surprise her with lunch. He saw her at a campus cafe, sitting close to an older Western man, laughing, touching his arm the same way she had touched Robert's arm, looking at him with the same shy affection she had shown Robert. Robert didn't confront her. He simply stopped responding to her messages. 3 days later, Mint sent him a text asking if everything was okay, if she had done something wrong. Robert replied saying he knew about the other man, that he was disappointed but wished her well. Mint's response was pragmatic. I never say I only see you. You are kind man, but I am student. I need help from many people. This is normal in Thailand. I am sorry if you misunderstand. Robert had misunderstood everything. The shy college student practicing English had been working multiple foreign men simultaneously, managing them carefully to avoid overlap, collecting tuition and expenses from various sources while maintaining the appearance of genuine relationship with each. Her affection had been real in its performance, but not in its exclusivity or permanence. In Thai culture, particularly among young women in universities who interact with foreign men, there's a pragmatic understanding that affection and financial support are not separate categories. We don't see this as prostitution or even as particularly mercenary. It's simply the recognition that foreign men have resources we need, and providing them companionship and attention is fair exchange. The word sponsor is used openly among Thai women, without shame, describing foreign men who help with expenses. The confusion happens when foreign men interpret sponsorship as exclusive romantic relationship, when they believe that payment for tuition or rent creates obligation for monogamy or permanence that we never agreed to provide. After Mint, Robert decided he had made the mistake of choosing a Bangkok girl too sophisticated, too exposed to Western men, too practiced at managing multiple relationships. He needed someone more traditional, less corrupted by city values, a woman from rural Thailand who valued loyalty and family over material comfort. He found porn through a different dating app, one that specifically connected foreign men with women from Isan, Thailand's poorest northeastern region. Her profile showed a 21-year-old in simple clothes, standing in rice fields, accompanying texts explaining she lived with her family in small village, helped on their farm, wanted to meet good foreign men who valued traditional Thai women. They messaged for weeks before Robert traveled to her village in Buriram province. Porn's English was limited but sincere. Her messages simple but seemingly honest. She sent photos of her daily life working in fields, cooking with her mother, caring for younger siblings. Everything about her presentation suggested innocence and authenticity Robert had been seeking. The village visit was overwhelming in its poverty and its warmth. Porn's family lived in a wooden house with dirt floors, no air conditioning, bathroom that was basically outdoor squat toilet. But they welcomed Robert like honored guests, prepared elaborate meal they clearly couldn't afford, treated him with respect and hospitality that felt genuine. Porn was different from Mint shy to the point of barely speaking, deferring to her parents, requiring her mother to translate because her English wasn't sufficient for complex conversation. She seemed overwhelmed by Robert's attention, blushed when he complimented her, looked away when he tried to make eye contact. The shyness felt authentic, different from Mint's practiced flirtation. Porn's father explained through broken English and gestures that the family struggled, that farming provided barely enough income to survive, that Porn was good girl who deserved better life than poverty could offer. He didn't explicitly ask Robert for money, but the implication was clear. If Robert was serious about Porn, he should help the family, demonstrate his commitment through financial support. Robert understood this was cultural expectation rather than scam. In Thai culture, particularly in Isan, when a man enters relationship with woman, he enters relationship with her family. Supporting them isn't exploitation, it's responsibility, proof of sincerity, investment in the partnership. Robert wanted to prove his sincerity. He started sending money monthly 10,000 baht, about $300, for the family's general expenses. Additionally, there were specific needs. The water buffalo died and needed replacement, 30,000 baht. The roof needed repairs, 20,000. Younger sister needed school fees, 15,000. Father needed medicine for diabetes, 12,000 monthly. Mother needed surgery for gallbladder problems, 90,000. Over 6 months, Robert sent approximately $9,000 to Porn's family. He visited monthly, staying in a hotel in the nearby town, spending days with Porn and her family, building relationship that felt authentic, despite the ongoing financial needs. But Porn remained shy to the point of unavailability. Their physical relationship was minimal. She allowed hand-holding and brief kisses but resisted intimacy. Said she wanted to wait until marriage. That good Thai girl didn't sleep with man before commitment. Robert respected this, saw it as evidence of her traditional values, proof that she wasn't like Mint or other women he had heard about, who were simply prostitutes in disguise. 7 months into their relationship, Robert learned through a friend of a friend that Porn had a Thai boyfriend in the village, a young man she had grown up with, who she planned to marry once enough money had been saved. The money Robert was sending wasn't going to family expenses, it was accumulating as dowry for Porn's actual marriage. Her real future, the one that didn't include a 60-year-old American who had been positioned as temporary benefactor rather than actual partner. When Robert confronted Porn's family about this, her father was unapologetic. You help family. Porn marry Thai boy. This is good. You can still help family, can still visit. Why angry? The concept of betrayal didn't translate. From the family's perspective, Robert had volunteered to help them. They had never explicitly promised Porn would marry him, never suggested his financial support entitled him to exclusive relationship. He had made assumptions they never validated, interpreted their acceptance of his money as agreement to terms they had never actually agreed to. Robert stopped sending money and stopped visiting. Porn's messages asking if everything was okay went unanswered. Her mother messaged asking when he would visit again, why he had abandoned them. They seemed genuinely confused about why he was upset, unable to understand that he had believed he was building toward marriage rather than funding someone else's wedding. After Porn, Robert was exhausted with the pretense of traditional relationships. If everything was transactional anyway, he decided he might as well engage with the transaction honestly. He went to Pattaya, to the bar districts where at least expectations were clear and pretense was minimal. He met Fawn at a beer bar on Swa 6, where she worked as hostess sitting outside, calling to passing foreign men, encouraging them to buy drinks and spend time. She was 24, pretty in the carefully maintained way bar. Girls were pretty, dressed in tight jeans and crop top that left little to imagination. But Fawn's pitch to Robert wasn't sexual, it was emotional. She sat with him, bought lady drinks that cost 4 times what his beer cost, told him she was different from other bar girls, that she hated this work, that she only did it because her daughter needed support and her Thai husband had abandoned them. She showed Robert photos of a cute 3-year-old, told him about her dreams of quitting bar work, opening a small shop, giving her daughter a better life. The story was compelling and probably partially true. Robert could see the exhaustion behind Fawn's practiced smile, could recognize the performance in her affection, but could also see the real person beneath the performance, a young woman trapped in limited options, doing what she needed to do to survive. He started paying her bar fine regularly, 1,000 baht per night to take her out of the bar, plus whatever he gave her directly for her time. They spent evenings together, sometimes intimate, sometimes just companionship, eating dinner, watching movies in his hotel room, talking about their lives. Fawn was honest about the transaction in ways Mint and Porn hadn't been. She told Robert explicitly that she had other customers, that bar work was her income, that she liked him but couldn't be exclusive unless he wanted to provide full monthly support. Robert appreciated the honesty. He negotiated a monthly arrangement, 25,000 baht, about $750, for exclusive access several days per week. This seemed fair, clear, sustainable. Fawn would still work but wouldn't go with other customers, would prioritize Robert, would provide girlfriend experience within defined boundaries. For 3 months, the arrangement worked well. Fawn was attentive during their time together, affectionate in ways that felt genuine enough, maintained appropriate boundaries that kept the relationship from feeling too transactional. Robert knew it wasn't love, but it served similar functions: companionship, physical intimacy, someone to talk to, structure to his days in Pattaya. But then Fawn's needs escalated. Her daughter needed medicine, 5,000 baht. Her mother needed help with rent, 10,000. Her brother got in accident and needed bail money, 30,000. She needed to pay back loan shark who was threatening her, 50,000. The monthly allowance that was supposed to cover everything somehow never covered everything. And Robert found himself sending additional money regularly to handle emergencies that felt increasingly orchestrated. 4 months into their arrangement, Robert went to Fawn's bar unannounced on a night she said she wasn't working. She was there, sitting close to another foreign man, laughing, performing the same routine she had performed with Robert, the shy bar girl who was different from other bar girls who hated this work, who just needed help to escape it. Robert watched from across the street, feeling something between jealousy and recognition. Fawn was working multiple customers while claiming exclusivity with each, maintaining the fiction of special connection while simply maximizing her income from available sources. This wasn't betrayal in her eyes, it was smart business practice, managing her resources efficiently, protecting herself from dependence on any single foreign man who might disappoint or disappear. When Robert confronted her, Fawn was matter of fact. You pay me $750 per month. This is not enough for exclusive. If you want only you pay me $2,000 per month, same as having wife. You want girlfriend experience part-time, this is what you get. You don't own me. She was right. The arrangement he had negotiated wasn't for exclusivity despite what he had believed it was for priority access, for girlfriend experience during scheduled times, not for actual monogamy or commitment. He had misunderstood the terms of his own transaction, had added expectations that hadn't been explicitly agreed to. Robert terminated the arrangement, feeling foolish but also somewhat relieved. At least with Fawn, the transaction had been relatively explicit, the boundaries somewhat clear, the cost-benefit analysis more obvious than it had been with Mint or Porn, where everything had been disguised as authentic romance. After 3 failures, Robert convinced himself the problem was that he kept choosing women who were either too manipulative or too desperate. He needed someone educated, financially independent, someone who didn't need his money and therefore could offer authentic connection. He met Aom at an upscale bar in Bangkok, not a go-go bar, but a trendy rooftop lounge where young professionals gathered. She was 25, worked in marketing for a multinational company, spoke perfect English, dressed in designer clothes that suggested financial comfort Robert's previous girlfriends hadn't possessed. Aom was sophisticated in ways that impressed and intimidated Robert. She knew wine, could read menus in multiple languages, took photos of everything for Instagram, moved through Bangkok's expensive venues with confidence that suggested she belonged there. When Robert offered to pay for drinks, she insisted on splitting the bill, said she didn't need men to buy things for her, valued equality in relationships. This independence was refreshing after the constant financial requests from Mint, Porn, and Fawn. Robert believed he had finally found a woman who wanted him for who he was rather than what he could provide. They dated for 6 weeks before allowed anything physical to develop. She set the pace, maintained boundaries, insisted they build emotional connection before physical intimacy. This felt mature, authentic, different from the transactional nature of his previous relationships. But gradually, Aom's independence revealed itself as performance. She never directly asked Robert for money, but she suggested expensive activities, dinners at restaurants that cost 5,000 baht per person, weekend trips to Phuket staying at luxury resorts, shopping at malls, where she admired designer bags and clothes. Robert paid for these experiences willingly, wanting to impress her, to demonstrate he could afford the lifestyle she was accustomed to. After 3 months, Robert had spent approximately $8,000 on Aom without her ever directly requesting money. She maintained the fiction of independence while positioning him to pay for everything that mattered, the experiences, the gifts, the lifestyle upgrades that were supposedly for both of them but that primarily benefited her. When Robert suggested they spend more time at his modest apartment rather than expensive venues, Aom lost interest quickly. She became busy with work, less available, responsive to messages but never initiating contact. The relationship dissolved quietly, Aom moving on to her next foreign boyfriend who could provide the experiences she valued, leaving Robert with the recognition that her sophistication had simply been more expensive version of the same transaction he had been engaging in with less educated women. In Thai culture, particularly among educated urban women who date foreign men, there's a careful dance where financial support flows through lifestyle expenses rather than direct payments. We never ask for money explicitly that would be too crude, too similar to prostitution. Instead, we suggest activities we cannot afford alone, express admiration for items we cannot purchase ourselves, allow foreign men to demonstrate generosity through experience sharing. This maintains the fiction of independence while achieving the same economic outcome as more direct transactions. Foreign men pay for the privilege of dating attractive, sophisticated Thai women who make them feel worldly and successful, while we access lifestyles our local salaries cannot provide. Robert's pattern was becoming clear. Even to himself, he would meet a Thai woman, believe she was different from previous ones, invest money in emotion, discover the relationship was primarily transactional, move to the next woman, hoping the next one would be genuine. But hope is stubborn, and loneliness is patient. And Robert wasn't ready to give up on the possibility that somewhere in Thailand existed a woman who would value him beyond his financial utility. He met Nid through a friend of a friend in Chiang Mai, where Robert had relocated believing northern Thailand might be less commercially corrupted than Bangkok or Pattaya. Nid was 23, worked at a small restaurant, was raising her 3-year-old daughter alone after the child's Thai father had abandoned them. Nid's situation elicited immediate protective instinct in Robert. She was struggling visibly, working long hours, living in a tiny room with her daughter, sending the child to her parents during work shifts because she couldn't afford childcare. She never asked Robert for help, never suggested he should solve her problems, simply shared her reality with the exhausted honesty of someone too tired to maintain pretense. Robert started helping without being asked, buying groceries for Nid and her daughter, paying for the daughter's daycare so Nid didn't have to leave her with grandparents in the village, giving Nid money to reduce her work hours so she could spend more time with her child. These gestures felt meaningful in ways his previous financial support hadn't. He was helping a struggling mother, improving a child's life, doing something that mattered beyond purchasing companionship. Nid was grateful but not effusive, accepting help pragmatically, never performing excessive appreciation that would have suggested she was manipulating him. Her daughter was sweet, called Robert uncle, seemed genuinely happy when he visited. The three of them developed routine. Robert would bring food. They would eat together in Nid's small room, watch Thai cartoons while the daughter fell asleep, talk quietly about their lives. Over 4 months, Robert gave Nid approximately $5,000 in various forms: rent, support, food, medical care for the daughter, general financial help. The relationship was less romantic than his previous ones. Their physical intimacy was infrequent and felt more like gratitude than passion, but it felt more authentic, more grounded in genuine mutual care. The collapse came when Robert learned through mutual friends that Nid was seeing another foreign man, an Australian expat who was also providing financial support, who also believed he was helping a struggling single mother, who also thought his situation was unique and his relationship genuine. When Robert confronted Nid, she was tired and honest. "I have daughter. I need help. One man cannot give enough. I don't tell lies. I never say I love you, never promise only you. You choose to help, I accept help. This is not wrong." She was right that she had never explicitly promised exclusivity, had never performed love the way Mint or Fawn had performed it. But Robert had interpreted her authenticity as commitment, had believed that his help created relationship rather than transaction, had confused her grateful acceptance of support with exclusive partnership. After Nid, Robert was exhausted with the pretense entirely. He decided to engage with the most explicit version of the transaction women who advertised companionship services online, who made no pretense of romance, who provided girlfriend experience as openly commercial product. He found Yui through an online forum where Thai women advertised services described as private massage, tour guide, companionship, using euphemisms thin enough to be transparent. Yui's ad was straightforward. 22 years old, available for dates, overnight stays, short-term arrangements, spoke good English, provided authentic Thai girlfriend experience for agreed upon rates. Robert messaged her, negotiated terms explicitly. 5,000 baht for overnight stay, 10,000 for weekend, 15,000 per week for girlfriend experience, including companionship, intimacy, and emotional availability. The transaction was clear, boundaries were defined, expectations were stated explicitly. Yui was professional in ways his previous girlfriends had pretended not to be. She arrived on time, dressed appropriately for whatever activity was planned, performed affection skillfully but without pretending it was spontaneous. She laughed at his jokes, listened to his stories, provided physical intimacy that was competent but not passionate, maintained the girlfriend fiction, while both parties understood it was fiction with agreed upon duration. For 3 months, Robert saw Yui twice weekly, paying per visit, receiving consistent girlfriend experience that was oddly more honest than his previous relationships had been. Yui never asked for additional money, never created emergencies, never suggested their arrangement was anything beyond what they had explicitly negotiated. But the very explicitness of the transaction made it feel hollow. Robert could see the performance mechanisms, could identify the moments when Yui was acting versus the rare moments when her actual personality emerged. The girlfriend experience was skillful, but it was experience rather than relationship, product rather than partnership. Robert terminated the arrangement not from disappointment, but from recognition that this version of the transaction, while honest, was too honest. It eliminated the possibility of believing connection was genuine, removed the hope that maybe this time the affection could become real, exposed the mechanics too clearly for comfort. Robert's final Thai girlfriend was Ploy, 24, who he met through yet another dating app. After 6 failed relationships, Robert should have learned to recognize patterns, but Ploy's approach was different enough to bypass his defenses. She was serious from the beginning, talked about marriage and long-term partnership within the first week, asked direct questions about Robert's willingness to sponsor her for American visa, explained that she wasn't interested in short-term dating or ambiguous arrangements. She wanted husband, wanted commitment, wanted clarity about whether Robert was serious or just another foreign man wasting her time. This directness appealed to Robert after months of ambiguous arrangements. Ploy seemed to want what he wanted: genuine partnership, legal commitment, shared future. She was educated, worked as secretary for a small company, came from middle-class Bangkok family who she introduced Robert to early in their relationship. Her family interviewed Robert seriously, asked about his income and plans, treated him like potential son-in-law rather than temporary benefactor. For 2 months, Robert and Ploy built a relationship that felt like it was progressing toward marriage. She moved into his apartment, they discussed wedding plans. Robert started researching requirements for fiancé visa to bring Ploy to America. He paid for her passport, for required medical examinations, for document translations and legal fees related to visa preparation. The visa application required Robert to demonstrate financial ability to support Ploy bank statements, proof of income, evidence of asset. Robert provided everything required, felt proud that he qualified, that he could offer Ploy legal path to America and better life than Thailand could provide. Then Ploy disappeared. Not dramatically, not with confrontation, she simply became busy, less available, postponing appointments with immigration lawyers, delaying document submissions, creating excuses for why the visa application kept stalling. Within 3 weeks, her messages stopped entirely. She moved out of his apartment while he was at the immigration office filing paperwork, took her belongings, and left no note. Robert later learned through mutual contacts that Ploy had several visa applications in process with different foreign men, that she was essentially auditioning sponsors, seeing which one would complete the process first and offer the most favorable circumstances. She was shopping for best outcome, treating visa sponsorship as commodity to be optimized rather than commitment to be honored. 18 months after arriving in Thailand, Robert sat in his apartment, reviewing his bank statements, calculating what 7 relationships had cost. Approximately $38,000 plus countless hours of emotional investment, plus the accumulated damage to his ability to trust his own judgment or believe in the possibility of genuine connection. 7 women, 7 different presentations, 7 variations of the same essential transaction: young Thai women with various levels of economic desperation meeting older foreign men with various levels of emotional desperation, both parties receiving something they needed while calling it by names that obscured the transaction. Mint, the student, who had taught him that college girls could work multiple sponsors while maintaining appearance of authentic relationship. Porn, the village angel, who had demonstrated that traditional values and modern extraction techniques weren't contradictory. Fawn, sweetheart, who had been most honest about the transaction and therefore least emotionally damaging. Aom, the office princess, who had shown that sophisticated women simply conducted the transaction at higher price point. Nid, the single mother, who had revealed that genuine struggle and strategic management weren't mutually exclusive. Yui, the freelancer, who had provided girlfriend experience so explicitly commercial that it eliminated possibility of self-deception. And Ploy, the visa hunter, who had demonstrated that even serious commitment language could be performance designed to extract resources. The pattern was clear. Young Thai women learned early that foreign men represented economic opportunity, that affection and attention were commodities that could be exchanged for financial support, that managing multiple foreign relationships simultaneously was smart business practice rather than moral failure. The women weren't villains, they were survivors in a country where their options were limited and their value to foreign men was their youth and willingness to perform affection convincingly enough that lonely older men could believe it was real. And Robert was exactly the kind of man the system was designed to capture: 60 years old, divorced twice, lonely, financially comfortable, but not wealthy, desperate to believe he was valued for qualities beyond his money, willing to invest heavily in relationships that offered even the possibility of genuine connection. Thailand hadn't created Robert's vulnerability. It had simply provided efficient marketplace where his vulnerability could meet Thai women's economic necessity, where transactions could be disguised as relationships, where both parties could pretend they weren't engaged in exchange, even as the exchange defined everything. Robert left Thailand with $12,000 remaining from his original $50,000. He hadn't been scammed in the traditional sense. Nobody had robbed him, nobody had forced him to give money, nobody had made promises they technically hadn't kept. He had simply engaged in series of transactions where he consistently misunderstood the terms, where he interpreted commercial relationships as romantic ones, where he paid for girlfriend experiences while believing he was building genuine partnerships. Back in Austin, he moved into a small apartment, restarted his American life with significantly reduced financial buffer and substantially increased understanding of how the Thai girlfriend industry operated. His education had cost him $38,000 and 18 months, but the lessons were clear. The student dreamer teaches you that intelligence and education don't prevent young women from working multiple foreign sponsors simultaneously. The appearance of innocence is often most profitable performance. The village angel teaches you that traditional values and systematic extraction aren't contradictory, that family pressure creates effective economic motivation, that poverty creates desperation that looks identical to authenticity. The bar sweetheart teaches you that honesty about the transaction doesn't make it less transactional, that women who work multiple customers are simply being efficient with their resources, that exclusivity must be explicitly negotiated and properly funded. The office princess teaches you that sophisticated women conduct the same transactions at higher price points, that independence can be performance that disguises traditional extraction, that lifestyle expenses are simply another form of payment. The single mother teaches you that genuine struggle and strategic management coexist, that helping someone's child doesn't create obligation for exclusive relationship, that gratitude and exclusivity are separate categories. The freelancer teaches you that explicit commercial arrangements are more honest than romantic pretense, that girlfriend experience is product that can be purchased but not transformed into actual relationship, regardless of how skilled the performance. The visa hunter teaches you that even serious commitment language can be tool for extraction, that marriage promises don't guarantee follow-through, that some women are shopping for best sponsor rather than best partner. The overarching lesson: young Thai women and older foreign men engage in mutually beneficial transactions where both parties usually get what they're actually negotiating for, but foreign men consistently believe they're negotiating for something else. Thai women want financial support, lifestyle improvement, family help, visa sponsorship. Foreign men want companionship, physical intimacy, feeling of being valued, escape from loneliness. Both parties receive what they want in the immediate term. But foreign men additionally want belief that the transaction isn't transaction, want authentic love rather than skilled performance, want exclusive commitment rather than managed priority access. This gap between what foreign men pay for and what they believe they're receiving is where the trap exists, not because Thai women are deceitful, but because foreign men need to believe their situation is different, their girlfriend is special, the relationship transcends the economic fundamentals that created it. Robert's 7 relationships had taught him this lesson repeatedly, each time from slightly different angle, each time costing him more money and more faith in his ability to distinguish genuine affection from commercial performance. By the 7th girlfriend, the lesson was finally absorbed. In Thailand's girlfriend industry, you get exactly what you pay for, nothing more and nothing less, and believing you're getting something beyond the transaction is the transaction's most expensive component. 3 years after returning from Thailand, Robert lived alone in Austin, dated occasionally but without serious commitment, maintained friendships but avoided vulnerability, accepted that loneliness was preferable to the expensive education about loneliness that Thailand had provided. He had learned that 60-year-old divorced American men seeking love from 20-something Thai women were engaged in transaction regardless of whether they admitted it, that admitting it was less expensive than denying it, that hope and desperation created blindness that could be monetized with devastating efficiency by young women who had learned that foreign loneliness was Thailand's most renewable resource. The 7 types of Thai girlfriends he had encountered weren't distinct categories. They were variations on single theme, different marketing approaches to the same product, diverse methods for monetizing the same foreign vulnerability. Some were more explicit, some more sophisticated, some more sympathetic, some more exploitative. But all of them understood something Robert had taken. 7 expensive lessons to learn. That in Thailand's ecosystem of cross-cultural relationships, affection is commodity, youth is currency, and foreign loneliness is industry that employs thousands of young women who have discovered that performing love is more profitable and less physically demanding than most alternatives their circumstances offer. If this story revealed the 7 types of Thai girlfriends foreign men encounter, the patterns that repeat across different presentations, the mechanisms of how loneliness gets systematically monetized in Thailand's girlfriend industry, I invite you to subscribe. There are more stories about men who learn these lessons expensively, about the women who teach them, about the industry that connects foreign desperation with Thai necessity, and calls the connection romance. Thank you for listening to These Difficult Truths.